Peter Cushing as Doctor Who. Probably the most mainstream of the irregular Doctors, this Bat Boy originated when an executive realized that it was possible to bring Doctor Who, which had so far been limited to grainy black and white television, to the big screen in colour. These were the days of Dalek mania, and so of course it was the alien tin cans that were the main attraction of the two resulting films, Doctor Who and the Daleks, and Dalek Invasion Earth 2150 AD. But you still can't do Doctor Who without a doctor. And unfortunately, whatever American executive agreed to fund the project ruled that William Hartnell was not a big enough name to carry the picture. Enter the great Peter Cushing, famous as much in Britain as in the States, who had an uncanny resemblance to William Hartnell both in appearance and in voice. He was the ideal choice if you had to recast the Doctor in those pre-regeneration days. It broke Hartnell's heart, but apparently that still wasn't enough. The executives further decreed that, wait, Alien? The future? TARDIS? That's way too complicated. Let's simplify that thing. Kids are stupid. When the Dalek movies emerged, their stories were still remarkably similar to the episodes of the TV series they were based on, but the Doctor and his surroundings were completely different. For one thing, he had a moustache. He was called Doctor Who. There was not a hint that he was not from the 20th century Earth. His granddaughter was a little girl called Susan Who. Ian was a buffoon played by freaking Roy Castle, etc., etc., etc. Needless to say that for all these wanton changes, the Dalek movies, as they are known, are not well remembered by the mainstream Doctor Who fandom. Mind you, I love them, but sometimes you do wonder what they were thinking in the adaptation department. Still, whether he be an in-universe movie, an alternate universe, a dream induced by the celestial toymaker, or what have you, how does this first officially recast Doctor stand up to scrutiny, just as an incarnation? Let's find out! Part 1, Personality. Peter Cushing's Doctor Who is not just the first Doctor. In fact, he couldn't be further removed from the first Doctor. Where the first Doctor was the rude, tetchy patriarch, this one is childish, eccentric, friendly. He's just the most overwhelmingly nice, kindly old grandfather you could imagine.
Do you know what you have just done? You have transferred us in time and space, and I hadn't even set the controls. Now I don't know where we are. We could be anywhere in the universe, and at any time. Rather exciting, isn't it?
I mean, look at that charming little kid in a man's body. You would only see that kind of thing again with Matt Smith. And yet, it's rarely in the writing that Peter Cushing manages to add a sort of depth to the character. He often stares sort of melancholically into the distance, and you just can't quite know what he's thinking. And he's a little bit sad and mysterious like that. And it adds a lot to the portrayal. Again, however, a lot of it is owed to Peter Cushing. There's not that much in the writing. There is no interesting backstory or character arc. The Doctor, or Doctor Who, is just there, reliable and a little mysterious. In short, it's no Ninth Doctor, but there's something there. Part 2 appearance. Now this is where the movie Doctor wins massive amounts of points. His appearance is frankly just amazing. I mean, compare this to the very understated look of the first Doctor. Look at it! The velvet jacket, the tie, the striking blue eyes, the hair. Not to forget the color palette. Those pastel colors are, I think, really unique and creative, and not something you ever really saw with another Doctor, or with many movie characters in general, for that matter. The second movie also proved that they were capable of updating the look, as they got rid of the glasses that, rather like Hartnell, Cushing never really seemed to know what to do with, and instead they gave him this wonderful scarf years before Tom Baker. The movies may be odd, horribly non-canonical, and sort of simplistic, but there is no doubt in my mind that Doctor Who's appearance is hands down one of the best looks the Doctor has ever had. This is the first Doctor where we can have this section about the musical leitmotif composed for the character, and boy do we have something to work with here. Because there's two themes really, and they're both great. The eccentric Doctor Who from the first film holds the distinction of being the first musical theme specifically made about a Doctor. And it's great. It perfectly embodies the character of Doctor Who in the first film. Childlike, adventurous, always hopping from place to place, yet with a strange hint of sadness behind it all. But the second movie had a different composer, and we all know what that means. New leitmotifs, which kind of defeats the point of a leitmotif, but who cares? As befits the markedly darker tone of the second movie, this sort of flips the feeling I get from the eccentric Doctor Who. We mostly get the bizarre tragedy of the character, the melancholy that you feel in Peter Cushing's performance. And then, once in a while, you get a hint of the more childlike and adventurous side. Just like Cushing's profound stares and little facial expressions, it's a theme that gets you thinking about why is the Doctor so sad? And it's not like the movie shows you that the Doctor is sad or even hints at an explanation. There is no time war in there, but it gets you thinking, it gets you dreaming. And what more can you ask from a piece called Fugue for Thought? Part 4, Regeneration. Alack, Peter Cushing's Doctor Who, since they hadn't even established that he wasn't human, though in fairness, they don't say he's human either, never had a regeneration. Indeed, this was before Troughton, this was before the show had thought of the idea of regeneration. Peter Cushing's Doctor Who didn't even have a proper goodbye, because the second movie left the door open for more adventures in TARDIS. There was supposed to be a third movie, but it was cancelled halfway through. What little had been filmed was lost. It's a tragedy, really. But it should be said that he was still massively important to the concept of regeneration, because as we saw, he looks nothing like the first Doctor in the finished product. So I think he was really essential in establishing that, yes, you could completely change what the Doctor is like and still keep it as something the public would recognise as Doctor Who, so long as you had a TARDIS and Daleks. Oh, and I'm not going to leave you with nothing at all, because although he never properly regenerated, there was a supposed future incarnation of Doctor Who appeared in the fan film series of DW 2012. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. He'll get his own review. But here's the little scene that alludes to it.
Doctors are not required. I gathered. After all, I'm only human. I've regenerated once or twice in the past, but it was merely an experiment. This truly is the end.
Now, my thoughts about this death scene as such are mixed, as we'll see in the Luke Newman's Doctor Who episode in, well, a while. But as you can see, the idea here is that just like he built his own TARDIS, Peter Cushing's Doctor Who, even if he is human, would be perfectly capable of inventing regeneration for himself, and it would be perfectly in the spirit of the films. It proves that it can be done. The idea makes sense. So, Doctor Who 3, BBC? Anytime soon?